Well, only on 12 News, some new data from the Department of Education details how some families are using their empowerment scholarships or universal school voucher money to send their kids to college.
12 News Investigates Craig Harris continues our ongoing series into the state's billion-dollar ESA program. Craig?
Hey, good evening, Mark and Craig. Public school students in Arizona often have the chance to get college credit while they're in high school, but the state doesn't provide money to go to college after graduation. However, private or homeschool students who use empowerment scholarships or ESAs, they're allowed to keep any money they didn't spend before graduation to go to college. And they did. The latest records show ESA families spent at least $5 million on college. Take a look. Data from the Department of Education shows ESA parents got reimbursed for sending their students to GCU, ASU, and U of A. Parents also got reimbursed for these out-of-state schools: Liberty University in Virginia, BYU in Utah, and Bob Jones University in South Carolina, in apparent violation of ADA rules that say restricting ESA to in-state schools has been upheld. State Schools Chief Tom Horn doesn't seem to agree with the rules from his own department.
And whether it's out of state or in state is not relevant to me. I think students should go to the best school they can go to. I went to Harvard and it did me a lot of good. To say that it has to be in state is very parochial and narrow-minded and not worthy of a good educational institution.
And ADA records show ESA money went to at least 50 out-of-state colleges since 2022. It's been a challenge to get a full view of school voucher spending on college. Some of the records to compile the totals were available from State Treasurer Kimberly Yee's website, but those were recently deleted. The Department of Education and the State Treasurer's Office also had refused to provide 12 News data on spending transactions, so we took them to court. And millions of transactions were released, but we still haven't gotten them all. What we can see opens even more questions. For example, how does one student who stopped getting new ESA funds by June 2022 get nearly $68,000 reimbursed over the next 3 years while going to Grand Canyon University? Two other students stopped getting ESA funds by June 2023, Treasury records show, but one parent was reimbursed $57,000 over the next 2 years for apparent tuition at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Prescott. The other reimbursed $54,000 for apparent tuition at Arizona College of Nursing in 2024 and 2025.
Well, the fact that they can save money from ESA and then use it to go to college is a decision that the legislature made.
Doug Nick, a Department of Education spokesman, added state law allows for the use of leftover ESA funds for higher ed within 4 years of high school graduation. No new dollars would be available after graduation.
The parents are saving the money after the kid graduates, then using those K-12 dollars for higher ed. That I have a problem with, because the average mom, the average dad has to save money or take out loans, or the kid has to work, fill in the blank to pay for their college education.
Curtis Finch was the Deer Valley Unified Superintendent for 9 years, though he's calling it quits. A typical ESA voucher is $7,000 to $8,000 a year, but special needs kids can get over $40,000 a year. Unused money stays in a student's account. Last year, 12 News Investigates uncovered $440 million in unused ESA dollars. Families have 3 years to spend that money. The current balance is about $350 million.
It leaves me speechless.
Reiko Mamani, a middle school reading teacher in Phoenix, was stunned with our findings.
It infuriates me. Teachers are paying thousands of dollars out of their pockets for basic supplies.
Now, there's still a lot that we don't know. The law allows parents to keep unspent dollars, but it's unclear how parents would have access to those kind of figures, tens of thousands of dollars. For example, remember, there's no income limit for parents using this program, and that's one thing public school advocates want to change next election. With photojournalist Chris Latella, I'm Craig Harris, 12 News.
Okay, Craig, so you could have a child gets diagnosed with autism and you could potentially get up to $40,000 a year in these
So
ESA funds.
$160,000
total. And if you don't use it, during, let's just say there are 4 years of high school or something, you could use that money for them to go to college. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can use it, how Tom Horn interprets it, you could use it to go to out-of-state private school. And that's exactly barred in the ESA handbook. Parents sign that and agree to that, and they're not supposed to be using that money out of state. That's clearly against the state rules, but Tom Horn is allowing that to happen, just like he's allowing all ESA purchases under $2,000 to go through, no questions asked.
And how do you track that, let's say $160,000 for a special needs student will be used for that particular student instead of another kid in the family to go out of state?
Well, there's really no way to track that because it just stays in that account, and the parents submit reimbursement forms, and you're trusting the parent that they're using that money for that kid. There's no way to track whether that is actually going for that student. It's going to the account. We were able to track how much money went to a certain student's account, and then we saw the money was reimbursed back to that parent from that account. But there's really no way to know if that money is being used for that student or someone else. It's basically an honor system, and you're hoping that they would be honest and they're using it for that student. But the numbers did line up. We saw, for example, in the examples we showed here, when the money ended in 2022 or 2023, that's when the reimbursement started for college and going back to that fund. So it likely was the same student, but you really don't know.
Very eye-opening. All right. Craig, thank you so much for that.
Thanks.